I want to start this deep dive by asking you a question that might sound, well, kind of completely ridiculous at first.
Oh, I love ridiculous questions. Let's hear it.
Right. So I want you to picture, like, a highly educated elite. We are talking about a top-tier corporate lawyer or maybe a specialized surgeon.
Okay.
Someone making $1 million a year, driving a gorgeous car, living in a massive house. How is it possible that this person could still fundamentally be considered poor?
Yeah, it sounds like an absolute paradox, doesn't it?
Totally.
Because, we are culturally conditioned to look at that seven-figure salary, the fancy corner office, the impressive title, and just automatically equate it with the absolute pinnacle of success.
Right, like you've made it.
Exactly. If you're making $1 million a year, you have won the game, right? But the argument we are looking at today suggests we're using a completely broken metric to measure what actual wealth is.
Okay, let's unpack this because that paradox really caught my attention. If making $1 million a year still leaves you trapped, then what is the actual goal here? The notes we're diving into today make this massive, paradigm-shifting argument.
They really do.
They say making money isn't just something you do by working harder. It is a very specific skill you have to learn.
Right.
And the tragedy is, most of us have been taught the complete opposite of that skill. We've been taught how to be incredibly highly paid laborers, but we haven't actually been taught how to be wealthy.
Which is such a vital distinction. And to ground this, we are pulling today from the experiences and writings of Naval Ravikant, specifically compiled in the book, The Almanack of Naval Ravikant.
Yeah, which is a fascinating read.
It really is. And what makes his perspective so interesting isn't just that he's a highly successful Silicon Valley investor and founder. It's that he started with literally nothing.
Right.
He was a poor immigrant kid growing up in Queens, literally spending his afternoons hiding out in the public library just to stay safe. So he had to, reverse engineer this entire process of wealth creation from absolute scratch.
And the very first thing he reverse engineers is that crucial distinction you just hinted at, the difference between money and wealth.
Yes.
I think a lot of us, myself included, honestly, use those words totally interchangeably in everyday conversation. Like they mean the same thing.
Yeah, we all do it.
But they are radically different concepts, aren't they?
They are entirely different things. Let's look at money first. Money is really just a social credit.
Okay.
It is an IOU from society. You do some work, you create some value, and society hands you this little token and says, hey, thanks for your time and energy today.
Right.
Here's a credit you can trade in later for groceries or a car or, a vacation. Money is simply the vehicle we use to transfer wealth and time.
So it's basically just a receipt for past work.
Exactly. It's a receipt.
Yeah.
But wealth is fundamentally different. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep.
Earn while you sleep.
Yeah. Wealth is the factory churning out products at midnight while the owner's at home in bed. It's the computer program running on a server, serving thousands of customers simultaneously while you are, on a beach somewhere.
That sounds pretty nice.
Right. It's the investments in the bank, compounding and funding other businesses. Wealth isn't an IOU for what you did yesterday.
Okay.
It is a living, breathing engine that creates future value without requiring your physical presence.
Which brings us perfectly back to that $1 million a year lawyer or doctor.
Yeah.
They have a lot of IOUs, but they don't actually have wealth. Because if you are a specialized surgeon, your hourly rate might be astronomical.
Unbelievably high. Yeah.
And it looks amazing on paper. But you are still caught in the ultimate trap, right? You are trading your time for money.
Precisely. You are still renting out your time. And it doesn't matter how high your hourly rate goes, the fundamental mathematical formula of your life is completely broken.
Because your inputs are tied to your outputs.
Exactly. Strictly linearly tied. The moment you go to sleep, the earning stops entirely.
Right.
The moment you decide to take a month off for travel, the earning stops.
Right.
Or heaven forbid, you get sick, you injure your hand, or you just want to retire. The spigot shuts off instantly.
I keep picturing someone running on a golden hamster wheel.
That's a great visual.
Sure, the wheel is made of solid 24-karat gold. It's very shiny, and everyone looking at a cage from the outside is super impressed with how fast you're running.
Yeah, they're cheering you on.
But you are still just running in place. The moment your legs cramp up and you stop moving, the wheel starts spinning.
Yep.
You are, quote-unquote, poor in the sense that you have zero actual freedom. You don't own a machine that works for you. You are the biological engine powering the machine.
That is the perfect analogy. You are absorbing all the friction, you're doing all the sweating.
Yeah.
And the harsh reality is you will never get truly wealthy renting out your time.
No,
We're taught that hard work is the answer. But I mean, if hard work alone were the answer, the people working 80-hour weeks doing manual labor.
or pulling double shifts in a restaurant.
Exactly. They would be the richest people on earth. Hard work is necessary, yes, but it is not the differentiator.
Well, let me push back on that a bit, or at least play devil's advocate for the listener here.
Sure, go ahead.
If I'm on that hamster wheel and I realize, okay, hard work isn't enough, what is the actual mechanism to get off? Because if I quit my job at the restaurant or the law firm, my income just goes straight to zero.
Right, which is scary.
Very scary. So how do I transition from being the engine to actually owning the machine?
Well, you have to fundamentally change what you are selling to the market. You have to stop selling your hours. You have to, as the source material phrases it, productize yourself.
Okay, I have to stop you right there. Because I hear a phrase like productize yourself, and my immediate cynical thought is,
Some cheesy internet influencer.
yes, some guy selling a $500 course on how to build a personal brand on Instagram. Is that what we are actually talking about here, or is there a deeper mechanism?
It is so much deeper than that, and thankfully, it has absolutely nothing to do with being an influencer if you don't want it to.
Oh, thank God.
Right. Productize yourself is a two-part equation. Let's look at the yourself part first. This is what Naval calls finding your specific knowledge.
And specific knowledge isn't just what you majored in at college.
Not at all.
Because if I go get a generic business degree or learn standard accounting rules, that doesn't feel very specific to me.
Right. A generic degree is foundational knowledge. It's important. I mean, you need to know how to read, do math, and understand the basic rules of commerce.
Sure.
But specific knowledge has a very strict filter. It is knowledge that you cannot be trained for.
Cannot be trained for. That's a huge distinction.
Think about that. If society can put you in a classroom and give you a syllabus to train you to do something, it means society can train someone else to do the exact same thing.
And if they can train someone else, you're replaceable.
Exactly. If you can be easily trained, you can be easily replaced. Someone younger, hungrier, or living in a cheaper cost of living area will eventually do it for less money.
Yeah.
And down the road, an algorithm or a robot will just do it for free.
So how do you actually find this untrainable, specific knowledge? I mean, when I was a kid, my main obsessions were like playing video games, eating junk food, and arguing with my friends over sports statistics.
Sounds like a pretty standard childhood.
Right. But you're telling me society wants to pay me for that. How does that actually translate to modern wealth?
It translates perfectly if you look beneath the surface of the hobby to the actual underlying skill. It's not about getting paid to eat junk food, obviously.
Fortunately.
But let's take your sports statistics example. If you spent your childhood obsessively analyzing player data, finding hidden patterns, and passionately debating predictive outcomes, what is that really?
Being a nerd.
Well, yes, but it's also deep data analysis, risk assessment, and persuasive communication.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see what you're saying.
It felt like play to you, but it looks like tedious work to everyone else. Or take someone who is a total gossip as a teenager, always digging into the social drama.
That sounds like a terrible trait for a resume.
It does. But if honed, that relentless curiosity and understanding of human psychology makes for an elite investigative journalist or, a phenomenal corporate recruiter.
Because no one taught them that intuition in a classroom.
Exactly. They absorbed it because their unique DNA and childhood environment naturally pushed them toward it.
That makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't just have to be for, tech billionaires. Let's imagine a mid-level manager in a boring corporate job.
Okay.
Their specific knowledge might not be the spreadsheets they fill out every day. It might be the fact that they're just naturally, instinctively amazing at diffusing tense office conflicts and getting angry people to collaborate.
Yes.
That's applied empathy and negotiation. It's a specific knowledge they can start leveraging.
Precisely. And when you lean into what makes you uniquely you, competition starts to vanish.
Right.
If you are fundamentally building something that is a pure extension of your own obsessions and oddities, no one can compete with you because no one can beat you at being you.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's say I figure out my specific knowledge. I know I'm great at predictive data analysis or I'm great at conflict resolution. Having the knowledge isn't enough, is it?
No, it's just the first half.
Because the next step in this formula is taking on accountability. And honestly, that feels terrifying.
What's fascinating here is that it is terrifying. And there is a deeply ingrained biological reason for that fear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Accountability means taking the business risk under your own name. But throughout human evolution, failing in public was physically dangerous.
Like getting kicked out of the tribe.
Exactly. If you took a big risk in the ancient monkey tribe hierarchy and you failed,
Right.
you were exiled. You literally starved. Even just a few centuries ago, if your shipping venture failed, you went to debtor's prison. The captain literally went down with the sinking ship.
Wow, so the stakes were actual life and death.
Complete.
But if I post a video online today sharing my specific knowledge and nobody watches it, or someone leaves a mean comment, I'm not going to be exiled to the wilderness.
Right. The modern world has entirely changed the risk profile. The downside risk in today's society is actually incredibly low. We don't have debtors' prisons anymore.
Simply.
If you start a small business under your own name and it fails, you might lose some time, maybe some initial capital, but you just go get another job.
Right.
Yet we are still biologically wired to be terrified of the cringe factor. We are terrified of our peers thinking we're silly or, failing publicly on LinkedIn.
So because we are afraid of looking foolish, we hide. We let the giant corporation we work for take all the public risk.
Exactly. But here is the unbreakable rule of commerce. Whoever takes the risk gets the reward.
Ah, that makes sense.
If you let the company take the risk, they will happily pay you your safe little hourly wage, and they will keep 100% of the equity and the massive upside for themselves. Embracing public accountability, putting your actual name on your work and standing behind your failures is the only way you convince society to give you responsibility, capital, and leverage.
Let's talk about that word leverage, because this feels like the absolute core of the wealth formula.
It is the holy grail.
If I have specific knowledge and I bravely put my name on the line, I'm still trapped on the hamster wheel if I have to do all the physical manual work myself.
Yep.
So if I want to get off the wheel, my first instinct is just, well, hire people. Right, become a boss. That's how you scale.
That is the traditional instinct, yes, but it's actually an outdated model. Let's look at this as an evolutionary problem-solving journey. Humans have always looked for leverage, a way to multiply their effort.
Like a literal lever.
Exactly. Archimedes said, give me a lever long enough, and I will move the earth. The oldest form of leverage humans invented was labor, having other humans work for you.
Which is the one that still impresses everyone, right? Like if you tell your parents, hey, I manage a team of 50 people, they are thrilled.
Oh, it sounds incredibly impressive at dinner parties.
Mm-hmm.
But labor is arguably the messiest, most difficult form of leverage to build wealth with today.
Really? Why is that?
Because managing humans is incredibly complex. It requires immense leadership skills, constant HR oversight, and frankly, humans are not perfectly scalable. You're dealing with office politics, people quitting, people having bad days. You're always one bad decision away from a mutiny.
Okay, so if labor is too messy and full of friction, people naturally look for a better tool. Which leads us to the great wealth generator of the 20th century capital, just using money to make money.
Yes, capital, money scales brilliantly. It doesn't complain, it doesn't need sleep, and it doesn't quit.
Right.
This is the leverage of Warren Buffett. If you're good at making investment decisions, you can manage $1 million or $1 billion with roughly the exact same amount of physical effort on your part. It multiplies your specific knowledge exponentially.
But there's a massive catch with capital leverage, isn't there? It is permissioned.
Yes, exactly.
I can't just wake up tomorrow and decide to use capital leverage. Someone has to actually agree to give me the money. I have to go pitch venture capitalists or woo a bank for a loan or, I don't know, be lucky enough to inherit a fortune. I am completely dependent on gatekeepers.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the exact friction that the modern wealth code has finally solved. We have moved from labor to capital to a brand new third type of leverage.
Okay.
And this is the paradigm shift. This is the magic of the 21st century products with no marginal cost of replication. Specifically, we are talking about code and media.
Explain the mechanism behind that. What does no marginal cost of replication actually mean for the listener?
Okay, let's say you build a physical chair. It takes you time and wood. To build a second chair, it takes you the exact same amount of time and the exact same amount of wood.
Right, the input scale with the outputs.
Exactly. Your costs scale linearly. That is a marginal cost. But let's say you write a piece of software or you record a podcast, or you write an incredibly insightful PDF guide based on your specific knowledge.
Oh, well.
It takes time to create the first one, but to distribute it to a second person or a millionth person.
It costs absolutely nothing. It's just copying digital bits. The internet handles the distribution for free.
Exactly. And the most revolutionary part, code and media are permissionless leverage.
Permissionless.
You do not need anyone's permission to sit down at a laptop and write code. You don't need a gatekeeper's approval to record a video or start a newsletter. It is the most democratic form of leverage ever invented. Naval describes code as an army of robots.
An army of robots. I love that.
We used to have physical robots in factories. Now we have digital robots packed in massive data centers, working for us 24/7 for free.
So if you write a piece of software, those digital robots are serving web pages, taking customer payments, and delivering your product at 3 in the morning while you are fast asleep.
Yes. But even if you don't know how to code, which is most people, media is the exact same thing. Media is the new code. Joe Rogan makes tens of millions of dollars a year, not because he works millions of times harder than a broadcaster from the 1950s.
Or he's just talking.
But because his media leverage is infinite. He talks into a microphone once, and the internet distributes it to 100 million people for zero additional cost.
When you stack these three things together, your unique specific knowledge, the accountability of your own name, and this permissionless army of digital robots, you completely sever the linear relationship between how hard you work and what you earn.
You completely break the formula.
Your inputs are no longer tied to your outputs at all.
And to really visualize how these multipliers stack on top of each other, Naval walks through this phenomenal analogy using the real estate industry. We could look at 4 different people working in the exact same field and see why their wealth is vastly different.
Okay, let's walk through this journey because I think this really drives it home. First, we have the laborer. This is someone making maybe $15 an hour to do physical repair work on a house. Why are they at the bottom of the wealth scale?
Because they have zero leverage. They're only using their own 2 hands.
Right.
They have very low accountability. Like, if the foundation cracks, the homeowner sues the boss, not the laborer. And they are using generic skills that almost anyone can be quickly trained to do.
Exactly. So step up one level to the general contractor. This person might make a $50,000 profit on that same house. Why the jump?
Because they added labor leverage.
Precisely. They aren't swinging the hammer anymore. They hired a team of laborers. They take on more accountability to the homeowner, and they use slightly more specific knowledge to coordinate the build.
Okay, so then level 3 is the real estate developer.
Right.
This person isn't making 50,000. They're making millions in profit on a single subdivision. They buy the raw land, they borrow the money, and they hire the contractors. They are using massive capital leverage.
Huge amounts of capital. And they take on huge accountability because if the housing market crashes, they go personally bankrupt. Plus, their specific knowledge of zoning laws and market trends is highly refined.
But then you reach the absolute apex, the tech founders, someone who builds a platform like Zillow or Trulia. They aren't making millions, they are making billions.
Because they took all the previous leverage and dropped code and media right on top of it?
Exactly. They took the capital, they took the labor, but then they built an army of robots that evaluated every single piece of real estate in the entire country instantly, for free, 24 hours a day.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it like that.
They combined the specific knowledge of real estate with the specific knowledge of software scaling. They took massive accountability by starting a company. And their leverage is literally infinite.
You know, it really forces you to ask yourself, and I want to ask you, the listener, a very direct, challenging question right now. Look at your own life. Are you trading your life to make money, or are you using your mind to make money?
Such a vital question.
Are you the laborer just swinging the hammer, or are you building your army of robots?
Because in an age where you have access to infinite leverage, your judgment becomes the single most important variable in your life. How hard you physically row the boat matters a lot less than what direction you are pointing the boat.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
If you are steering a massive ship with a ton of leverage behind it, and you have just 10% better judgment than the next person, that tiny difference in decision-making is worth fortunes.
You don't have to be 1,000 times smarter than everyone else.
No, not at all.
You just have to be marginally better. But apply that judgment to a system that scales infinitely. You want to be paid purely for your judgment, not your hours.
And if you're sitting there wondering where to start, Naval's advice is incredibly practical. Learn to sell. Learn to build. If you can do both, You will be unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
If you can't code, learn to write. Record podcasts, shoot videos, distribute your specific knowledge for free until the market recognizes your value.
I love that. Unstoppable. Okay, let's synthesize this. The mission today was to figure out how to stop playing the short-term game of renting your time.
Yep.
The wealthy aren't wealthy because they run faster on the hamster wheel. They are wealthy because they own the wheel. They own the machine.
Exactly.
Your blueprint is clear. Uncover your specific knowledge, the stuff that feels like play to you but looks like grueling work to others. Step out of the shadows and take on the accountability of your own name. And then utilize permissionless leverage media and code to create assets that earn while you sleep.
But before we wrap up, we need to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought from these sources to just mull over.
Oh, right, the status game.
Yes. We have spent this whole time discussing wealth creation. And the most beautiful realization you can have is that true wealth creation is a positive sum game.
Positive sum.
When you build a new piece of software or write an amazing book, you are expanding the pie for everyone. You get wealthy, and society gets a brilliant new tool it desperately wanted. Everyone wins.
It's not about taking a slice of someone else's pie. It's about baking a bigger pie. But there is another game being played constantly right alongside the wealth game. And it's a dangerous one.
Very dangerous. The status game. Status is an ancient zero-sum game. It goes all the way back to our evolutionary monkey tribe hierarchy. To be number 2 in the tribe, you have to physically knock the current number 2 down to number 3.
Right.
The only way to win a status game is by putting someone else down. It is entirely zero-sum.
And people playing the status game absolutely hate people playing the wealth creation game, don't they?
They despise them.
Yep.
When you hear people publicly attacking the creation of wealth, screaming that all success is inherently evil or greedy, you have to stop and ask yourself a critical question. Are they actually trying to help society? Or are they simply playing a zero-sum status game, trying to make themselves feel taller by chopping someone else down at the knees?
Wow.
If you want to be wealthy, you have to ruthlessly ignore the people playing status games. They will only drag you into a bitter, resentful mindset that destroys your ability to create.
That is such a powerful lens to view the world through. So to everyone listening, it is time to step off the golden hamster wheel. Drop the exhausting, toxic status games. Go figure out what makes you weirdly, uniquely you. Take the risk and start building your own permissionless army of robots. You've got this. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.